Type 4, you're allowing the students to have some editing done with it, where you could say they've written a Type 3, and then they maybe partner with someone, read it out loud to a partner, have a partner check that they've done the FCAs. Basically, a Type 4 is they're getting a chance to edit and look over things, and then have a much more polished product.
Type 4s, the only difference is you have to have them peer revise. So I even will do a document review with a Type 4 so the kids know exactly how I want them to revise. They're reading each other's papers one at a time, not at the same time. They're not trying to critique them. They just want to go through and say, this sounds weird, I think this might be spelled wrong, you may have missed a word. They are not giving them their final grade. It is simply another set of eyes reviewing that paper.
When I sit down and I read something that I've typed up the night before to give a class on something we were going to use, like a worksheet in class, and I find my mistakes the next day, it drives me nuts. It's the same thing for a student. They'd work really hard on a paper. They think they have it down. They turn it in, and they've never read it out loud. You're looking at it as the teacher. You're looking at it and you're going, oh, come on. This is, shouldn't be here. With the student sitting down, reading it to another student, or having another student read their paper to them, they find out very quickly, what I'm trying to say and what I say are two different things. I need to make that correction. And they become better writers once they hear what it is they're actually putting on paper.
I think the collaboration with other students, they are able to read someone else's writing and maybe see where the FCA went a little bit awry, instead of just always looking at their own writing. And sometimes when you look at your own writing, you kind of gloss over mistakes you've always made. You're maybe fixing it in your head already, and you think you have a pretty good paper. But if you turn some other eyes on it, and they have knowledge of the FCA, they are now have not only read their own paper, but now they're seeing other examples of the FCA at work, either slightly off or some good examples of the FCAs you're concentrating on. So it helps the kid as a writer, as kind of expanding what they see from different examples of writing. And examples that are kind of on the same level as they are. You could look at professional examples, but sometimes those professional examples are way above what these kids are capable of, so they see people that write very similar to them and make similar mistakes.
The refinement of it. I think I see a lot better writing out of students who are doing a Type 4, and I've done that. I've actually taken a Type 3 what started as a Type 3, and over the process of a couple days it modified it into a Type 4, and you went from something where the students thought they had a pretty good understanding of what they wrote and they thought they did a pretty good job on it, to them realizing, well, I need to maybe revise a couple of things here, give them a little bit of a chance to go back. You have another pair of eyes looking at it, and it's even easier, I think, even for me to grade, because at that point, not only is it just my eyes that are looking at it and their eyes, they now have a third party that's been in there, and makes it a whole lot nicer and easier, and for them to actually go back and revise, and for me to grade.
You get another set of eyes on it. You have other students sharing their work, which builds off the social lens. You can have them discussing it a little bit more in detail. It just gets them more in depth and working with that writing more and more.
You get a better writing. If I take a Type 3, they do that work. The things that are not necessarily the focus correction areas don't fall under the FCA. They would slide under the radar. Maybe I don't put spelling down as one of the FCAs, or sentence structure is not an FCA. Then when they have their peer read it to them, or when they read it out loud and they hear how they actually wrote something out, and they're like, oh, that doesn't make any sense, or boy, is that really poor grammar. That sentence is just really, really nasty. They can make those corrections, and then they begin see what I mean? They begin writing better.
Student-wise, like I said, you can edit during the writing process with a fellow student, a different eye and the same peer level. Teacher-wise, easier grading, mainly because the students are grading them before they even turn it into you. But I think the biggest benefit would be like the editing during the writing process.
Turning a type 3 into a type 4 in any classroom is an obvious choice because it does not consume much time. A piece of paper between two students is placed in the desk equal distances. The student who wrote the paper listens to her partner read. While her partner is reading her paper, they both can work to manipulate a question mark, a circle, an underline, some sort of notation that student, the writer, is going to return to. As soon as that student is finished reading the paper, that one is set off to the side. Minor marks can be made, some notes can be taken. The next student then places her paper equally between her and her partner. Again, the student who didn't write the paper reads the paper aloud. Notations are being made, annotations, markings that are clear from what the teacher suggested. This process for one paragraph in a type 4 peer revising station takes 5 minutes to complete. And what students benefit, the benefits that students receive, is now they've had another set of eyes on their paper. They've had the confidence in working with just one other person to be able to question what they've written. They're able to hear their writing from someone else. We all know that whenever we write something and we read it so many times, that eventually it starts to sound the same. We don't hear the errors or the simple mistakes. When another person's voice is reading that out loud, it helps, even if it is just a sentence. One sentence could be turned from a 3 into a 4. It's valuable to take those 5 to 10 minutes out of a class time for students to recognize that the process is worthwhile for them and that they should be able to work with somebody else to improve writing.
What do you want to read? Do you want to read papers that are, the FCAs are correct, but the grammar, the sentence structure is very choppy, very poorly done? Or do you want to read something that flows and looks more masterful? The other thing is it lends itself to that human lens in learning, to where now that student has a chance to be successful. My own experience with writing early on was I was not a good writer. I did not write well at all. And my teachers had no qualms about pointing that out to me. Had I used Collins, and now that I do use Collins in the classroom, I also find that I'm a better writer by using some of the things that I've learned through Collins.
Big advice would be trust the kids. Eventually will do what you want them to do. That was my biggest hurdle when I did PLN is trusting kids to go out in groups. Because traditional group work, I wasn't a big fan of. It always seemed to devolve into just gossip and things like that. But the standards are clear. They've done it year after year with other teachers. And trust that you still have to circle around the room and do your typical teacher stuff. But trust that the kids will get it and understand it. And it really does help them. They may be talking a lot. They may be laughing. But as long as they're talking and laughing and criticizing about the writing, it's a good thing.
The one thing that's the big stickler here is you can't put kids of completely disparaging abilities with each other. It doesn't do them any good. You have to be very similar in their abilities, because it does me no good to have somebody who has no clue how to write a sentence trying to correct my sentences. So you have to be careful with whom you place people, because both people have to be getting something out of it. That's my biggest advice.
Worth their time.
I think peer revising is 100% worth the time. So taking the time to do that, it's not so much about taking the time, it's making the time to do that. I think it's vital for the students to get feedback, whether it's from a teacher or if it's from a peer, in order to improve their own writing. So that's a vital part of the teaching, and it's not so much taking the time, but it's making the time for that. That should be an integral part of the teaching process and learning process as well.